democratic freedom. The Freedom Charter remains our guiding set of aspirational principles as a nation, constantly reminding us that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and that the people must govern, and that there is no government that can claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. The upcoming national dialogue will build on this legacy by placing at the center our political project of national unity, economic transformation, and the consolidation of democracy. The ANC discussed the issue of gender-based violence and femicide, which has been characterized as the second pandemic by the President of the Republic. We are outraged and deeply saddened by the brutal violation of a 7-year-old child at Bergview College in Matatiele. This abhorrent crime underscores the relentless scourge of GBV that continues to plague our nation. It is a moral indictment on our society that predators still find refuge in institutions meant to safeguard children. Even more disgraceful is the involvement of organizations like AfriForum, who shield suspects rather than standing for justice. In moments of such horror, there is no race, no politics, only humanity, Ubuntu. We demand the arrest and prosecution of all involved and call on the police for swift, thorough action. Enough is enough. We will not rest until every woman and child in South Africa is safe from such despicable acts. And we are very happy that South Africa, black and white, have stood together in denouncing and this callous act. We call on all ANC structures led by the ANC Women's League, including all progressive organs of civil society, to intensify and sustain the support for 7-year-old Kwekwe. We commend the ANC Women's League for its determined and principled leadership and mobilizing our communities to say enough is enough. Justice for Kwekwe is not only about securing accountability, it is also a call to action against a system and a culture that continues to fail women daily. It is a reaffirmation of our collective duty to build a society where survivors are heard, protected, and supported, and where perpetrators face full might of the law. We urge faith-based organizations, youth formations, community leaders, trade unions, and every South African to rally behind this cause. Let us turn our outrage into organized action. Let us, through sustained mobilization, that GBV has no place in our homes, schools, workplaces, or communities. On organizational renewal and strengthening of structures, the NEC reaffirmed that the renewal of the ANC is urgent. Ongoing task is an urgent, ongoing task. Renewal is not cosmetic. It is a radical overhaul of how we lead, organize, and serve. It means uprooting the culture of complacency, factionalism, and gatekeeping, and replacing it with a disciplined, accountable, and activist movement. Our members must be the first line of defense against corruption and the leading voices for development and unity in their communities. The successful launch of our SMART membership card marks a historic leap in modernizing the ANC, not just as an administrative tool, but as a weapon of empowerment and integrity. It returns the ANC to the hands of its members and marks the end of gatekeeping and fraudulent practices. Political education is the foundation of our renewal. The NEC resolved that no branch or conference may proceed without members having completed the political education foundation course. The successful completion of the foundation course is now part of the qualifying criteria for attending conferences and standing for leadership election. We are building a new generation of cadres who are grounded, ideologically clear, and ready to lead transformation. The NEC is emboldened by the commitment and progress made by our members and structures towards organizational renewal. We acknowledge the hard work and dedication of our members who are central to the life of our organization. We recognize that renewal is not merely an internal process and that it must also mean the renewal of our state and society. A movement to galvanize our branches, enhance collective activism, and restore the people's trust in our movement. Our efforts, our focus is to strengthen the capacity of our branches, to serve the communities where they exist in as repositories of service and hope. Our branches must be the heartbeat of our great movement, connecting its very soul with the people to ensure the ANC remains the sharpest weapon in their hands against poverty, unemployment, and inequality. We must equip our branches to represent the people's voice, their challenges, aspirations, and dreams. On restructuring NEC subcommittees and strengthening subcommittees and provincial deployments, the NEC resolved to implement the rotation principle in the National Executive Committee deployments to provinces, alongside the alignment of membership following the national and provincial elections. These adjustments aim to enhance efficiency, strengthen organizational structures, and ensure seamless coordination between the ANC and government structures. The NEC approved the following leadership changes to subcommittees. Economic Transformation Committee, Comrade Zuko Godlimpi replaces Mamuluko Kubai as the chairperson, with Comrade Sitle Zikalala as the deputy chair of the ANC Economic Transformation Committee. Zuko Godlimpi is the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. Legal and Constitutional Development, Comrade Faith Mutambi, becomes the chairperson, succeeding Comrade Ronald Lamula. Peace and Stability, Comrade Tabang Makwetla, replaces Comrade Poli Bushielo. Organizing and Membership, Comrade Poli Bushielo takes over from Comrade Daina Pule. National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal, Comrade Geraldine Muleketi replaces Comrade Johnny Dilange. Education, Health, Science and Innovation, Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma replaces Comrade Peggy Konyeni. Local Government Intervention, Comrade Stella Ndabeni replaces Comrade Pakstau. To strengthen coordination and oversight, all NEC members who are ministers, deputy ministers, or portfolio committee chairs have been aligned with relevant subcommittees. Furthermore, NEC members will rotate across regions, while national officials will be deployed to metros to enhance grassroots implementation. On the reconfiguration of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal provinces, the NEC received a comprehensive update on the reconfiguration process of ANC structures in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. It reaffirmed full support for the provincial task teams leading this work. The NEC commended their disciplined start and urged NEC deployees to assist in swift addressing any organizational weaknesses. This reconfiguration is essential for strengthening unity, ensuring internal democracy, and preparing for 2026. The NEC acknowledged the oversight role played by the National Working Committee in driving this renewal agenda and affirmed that this process is critical to revitalizing ANC structures and reconnecting with communities on the ground. On the National General Council, as we look ahead to the 5th National General Council later this year, from the 8th to 12th of December 2025, the African National Congress calls on all structures, leagues, and cadres to focus our collective energies on advancing the theme 70 years of the Freedom Charter, forward with renewal and radical socio-economic transformation. That will be the theme of our National General Council. The NGC is more than an organizational gathering. It is the largest political school of the movement, a critical moment for political education, ideological sharpening, and collective reflection. It serves as a midterm review of the implementation of conference resolutions, offering the movement an opportunity to assess our progress, correct course where necessary, and reaffirm our strategic direction. We must enter the NGC with a united spirit, disciplined approach, and a clear commitment to radical socio-economic transformation that uplifts all South Africans, especially the poor and working class. It must re-energize our program of renewal and our commitment to the national democratic revolution. The National Executive Committee resolved that the National General Council, through a special resolution, will now take place in December, from those dates 8 to 12 December, in Johannesburg, Gauteng. Water and sanitation, infrastructure, integrity, and impact. As we close National Water Month and Human Rights Month, the ANC-NEC reaffirms that water is not a privilege. It is a right. The NEC welcomed the progress made by the Department of Water and Sanitation in rolling out major national infrastructure projects valued at over 100 billion rands. South Africa is now a construction site, from the Glen William Dam in the Western Cape to the Olifants River system in Limpopo. Each project affirms our people's fundamental right to live with dignity. However, the NEC also identified a dangerous enemy to development: the sabotage of infrastructure by criminal networks, including the water tankering and construction mafia. These actors have turned basic human rights into profit-driven rackets, deliberately collapsing infrastructure to justify unsustainable outsourcing. The NEC declares these forces enemies of development and affirms that their actions are an attack on the Constitution, on the ANC government, and on our people. We reaffirm our full support for reforms being undertaken, including the Water Services Amendment Bill, the move to ring-fenced utility models, and the overhaul of the grant funding and municipal management system. Water must be managed efficiently, professionally, and transparently. Every drop must count. On local government, the NEC received and endorsed the outcomes of the Local Government Intervention Task Team. This team is working with human settlements, water and sanitation, electricity, and COGTA to fix service delivery in key ANC-led and coalition municipalities. The NEC welcomed interventions in Mangaung, Ekurhuleni, West Rand, Tshwane, and Nelson Mandela Bay. In each case, clear political leadership, technical interventions, and community engagement are beginning to yield progress. To ensure sustained improvements in local government, the NEC resolved to launch a comprehensive review of the white paper on local government in April, integrate this process with preparations for 2026 local government elections, convene a local government summit to consolidate ANC policy inputs, deploy NEC and provincial leaders more decisively to stabilize municipalities, introduce stronger consequence management where governance fails. The ANC will lead a turnaround of local government, placing communities at the heart of service delivery. On economic transformation, the NEC reaffirmed that the ANC remains committed to economic transformation rooted in inclusive growth, job creation, industrialization, and broad-based empowerment. The NEC rejected attempts to reverse transformation policies under the guise of fiscal discipline and noted with concern the use of the budget process by some to undermine the transformation agenda. The ANC welcomed the progressive features of the 2025 budget, including the protection of the social wage, increased allocation to education, health and infrastructure, and measures to cushion the poor from rising living costs. The expansion of the zero-rated VAT basket and extension of the social relief of distress grant are concrete signs that transformation and fiscal responsibility can coexist. The NEC called on government to fast-track the rollout of the industrialization strategy, prioritize township and rural economies, and ensure that public procurement supports Black-owned women and youth enterprises. State-owned enterprise reforms must support developmental outcomes, energy, and logistics, and reforms must unlock economic potential, and the Transformation Fund must serve as a catalyst for inclusive economic growth. When it comes to the budget impasse and deadlock, the NEC have mandated the national officials to continue engagement and led by the Secretary General and the teams which report to him and the officials, the SG, to continue engagement with the political parties. As you know, we have a team that has been engaging with political parties in the National Assembly up until late last night and to early hours of this morning, engaging on matters of the budget, primarily with all partners in the government of national unity, in Parliament, even those that are not part of the government of national unity. We recognize the fact that the conditions under which we operate in are not the same as before. We are now operating under the conditions of power sharing in what we characterize as government of national unity. And there have been issues among GNU parties around the issue of VAT, and as well as those who are outside. And we need the budget to be passed in order for us to proceed to govern and stabilize the economy and ensure that the economy remain stable and pursue economic growth. So we also reflected on global balance of forces and South Africa's foreign policy. The NEC engaged in a comprehensive geopolitical analysis. It reaffirmed that South Africa's non-aligned foreign policy and commitment to a multipolar world that respects sovereignty promotes peace and advances the developmental agenda of the Global South. The ANC condemned attempts to manipulate South Africa's domestic affairs through think tanks, economic threats, and political blackmail. South Africa's democracy, foreign policy, and transformation agenda cannot be dictated by external factors. The NEC welcomes South Africa's upcoming presidency of the G20 and reaffirmed that the country must champion inclusive economic development, African industrialization, and reform of global governance institutions. The ANC will strengthen ties with progressive international partners, defend the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, and promote African peace and unity. The NEC welcomed efforts to stabilize the DRC and reaffirm South Africa's commitment to post-conflict reconstruction. The task before us are formidable as the ANC. We will strengthen our efforts with SADC, the African Union, BRICS, the G20, and other regional organizations and multilateral bodies to yield tangible outcomes for South Africans and our continent at large. We will continue to enhance African unity, reversing economic dependency, and neutralizing the influence of external forces, seeking only to extract and exploit our resources. We remain committed to peaceful resolution of conflicts in Cabo Delgado, Mozambique, Eastern DRC, and the Sahel region, among others. The ANC is concerned about the resurgence of hostilities in the Horn of Africa and remains committed to the ongoing peace-building processes. Solidarity campaigns with Western Sahara, Cuba, and Palestine remain a priority. Ultimately, our commitment to a more just, inclusive, and equitable global community demands that we stand resolute against the new scramble for Africa. The ANC holds firm in its principle of progressive internationalism, which includes non-racialism, Pan-Africanism, anti-colonialism, and anti-imperialism. The respect for human rights and the rule of law, as well as international solidarity. Since our formation in 1912, the ANC has always emphasized the importance of dialogue in resolving differences. However, while we remain engaged and committed to diplomacy and mutually beneficial relations, our humility should not be equated to weakness. In conclusion, the NEC reaffirms that the ANC is an important political force capable of uniting our nation and driving inclusive transformation. We are renewing our movement, revitalizing local government, expanding access to basic services, and confronting the enemies of progress. The path ahead demands courage, discipline, and collective resolve. We will walk this journey with the people, guided by the spirit of the Freedom Charter, and committed to a better life for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. I will at this point turn to yourselves, colleagues, for some engagement. I've got Sunday World, followed by SABC, and I'm trying to locate my brother behind Mbeje. You'll be the third person, and then ION, in that particular order. Go ahead, please.
have a little of questions, but I'll fire them all in case there's no speaking time. But I'll be succinct as far as I can. Number one, SG is related but not related. It's an NEC-related question. Why was Gauteng represented by 3 people in the NEC, being the 2 co-conveners and the coordinator, when the constitution of the NEC is blatantly clear that only 2 of the province? And why is KZN, if there is consistency, not represented by 3 as well? Basically, in fact, the central point here is what then becomes the legality and lawfulness of that NEC meeting, if I am right that the secretary who was there was not supposed to be there. That's number 1. 2, what are the constitutional and legal implications of this new course that structures must undergo at what is called, in terms of how it's going to affect the regional conferences and provincial conferences in instances where terms of those particular structures have come to an end? Will structures not be allowed? Well, as I understand it, until you undergo such courses, you cannot go to conference. So here I'm asking the constitutional and legal implications in terms of regional executive committees and provincial executive committees. And then thirdly, what is the financial status of the ANC? I asked this on the backdrop of what happened last month when my colleagues that side on the far right were not paid. As a working class person, I sympathize with them. And this question is specifically for them. What is the financial status of the ANC? Have they been paid yesterday? Has TG, Dr. Gwena Mohopa, briefed the NEC or the national officials about the financial status of the ANC? Is the ANC broke or is it a going concern? Finally, there's a metro in the Eastern Cape. I understand that metros, first of all, are managed at the national as it relates to the ANC. There's a metro called Buffalo City. Recently, SCOFA was there last week, and it is said that there is documents that were concealed from that particular SCOFA, and the mayor, speaker, and chief whip there are saying that they're all ANC cadres. It's the only metro there that is fully controlled by the ANC. What are you going to do about that, the concealment of crucial documents? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's the foundation cause.
Oh, yes, the foundation
It's
cause.
not causes, it's just a cause, one cause. Let me turn to SABC.
Yes, good morning, Mzwan Grebet from the SABC. I did hear the Secretary General touch on the issue of budget and consultation, but I think what South Africans would really want to know and understand is, as we sit here, where are we in terms of those engagements with parties inside and outside the GNU? Are we any closer to a situation where perhaps those inside may not necessarily agree with you, and then you get people from outside in terms of passing the budget? And if, let's say, everyone is still digging in their heels, so what is likely to happen next? What is the ANC going to do? Is this somehow putting the future of the GNU under some sort of, maybe threat is too big a word, but maybe they can use it because I don't have the substitute for it. So, is there any possibility in the not so distant future of a possible reconstitution of the government of national unity?
Thank you very much. I turn to the back and then I will. Noted.
Thank you, Uzo. Critique the House. SG, I critique you. SG, I just wanted to check if the critique the Constitution need to be reviewed when it comes to
complaining about not having enough sugar in their oats, beef, chicken, and pork not not being recognized as a human being when they are behind bars, while the affected grieving families when those that have been arrested for killing their loved ones, they are affected, nothing has been said by the state. How do you entertain a boy who raped a 91-year-old and says when he gets arrested, goes to jail, he still have to enjoy his human rights? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. IOF.
Good morning. My name is Kamara from IOL. No, I just have two questions. And you mentioned that you are in talks with political parties and also the DA included in the budget talks. So I wanted to check. The DA leader tweeted this morning that the ANC has refused to finalize on the agreement on code and also the reforms in the GMB. And then it said, the DA, and he said the DA will oppose the budget unless and until a written agreement is reached. And also the DA has characterized the ANC as anti-poor. So I want to check the relationship between you and the DA now, straight on these talks. And then secondly, the last one, the US President Donald Trump has mobilized multiple teams to convert the commercial offices in Pretoria into the refugee centers for white Afrikaners. Can I have your comment on that, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take one person and then have a second round of perhaps two in the interest of the number of questions that have been asked already. Lunga?
Thank you very much. My name is Lunga Zangwa from the American Guardian. SG, from what I just want to hear is that what I'm hearing is that inside the NC there were issues of the Tax Commission that some felt that Ratian specifically was being targeted. And from what I understand from the report was that when the Tax Commission went there, they only raised concerns about Ratian. But if you look at the 10 MECs, at least 3 of them, which I think it's Nagini, the other one, and then Mohoi, just maybe a wrong pronunciation, but there are 3. From what I want to hear is that what was discussed in the Integrity Commission report, because what is being said is that there were no other items except for the issue of Limpopo and the list. Where did the ANC end up with the list, and how's that going, the issue of the list, and what are the repercussions for those who are found to be in the list illegally? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Newsroom?
News from Africa. I'd like to know what the DA has specifically raised with you, or what are their preconditions for supporting the budget? Same question, but what the EFF and Umkhonto weSizwe Party have raised as preconditions for supporting the budget.
Thank you very much. Are you comfortable with that? Continue. Okay. ENCA?
Thank you. Moloko here. Umkhulu was all my question. But I will ask another one nonetheless.
That is a problem when you have Umkhulu.
Yeah, I just want to understand what for you as the ANC are you not willing to compromise in terms of the issues that were raised by the DA and other political parties? And how far have you gone in terms of compromising so far? Because the Secretary General has just said that You acknowledge that you are in a space where you are sharing power. How far have you gone into saying, we conceded on this, we compromised on this, and they are still not willing to accept on the other side? Thank you. Moloko.
Thank you very much, Mulugu. I will park it there for now and ask the SG to respond.
Thank you very much, Sunday World. We've got co-conveners. So co-convener is one person, but in practice, it's two people who come forward. So that is why they are invited in that status of an interim structure, which satisfy the ANC constitutional requirement. In case that then we don't have co-conveners, we've got the convener and two deputy conveners. So that's what we have done, and that we have the coordinator in terms of the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So the PTT satisfy the requirement of the ANC constitution in as far as how it has actually been configured in terms of the two provinces. The foundational course is mandatory in terms of political education. It is mandatory that all our structures must have undergone this foundational course. So if you don't undergo foundational course, it means you will not have your conference at the regional level, at the branch level, and at the national level. That's what will happen. So foundational course is part and parcel of the conference resolutions of the ANC in terms of renewal. In terms of those resolutions of conference, it says that all new members, structures and leadership structures must undergo induction and political education as a compulsory measure in all the structures of the organization. So we've adopted the foundational course, in which all of us, before you get elected, you must have undergone that. Even the NEC current is going to undergo the foundational course. All our PDCs have undergone foundational course. Regions must undergo foundational course before and after. If somebody were to legally use this, that certain structures did not undergo, and as a result, we are in violation. In terms of legality, it has got no legal standing. But from a political point of view, we've got measures to enforce it. It means the Secretary General, as the person who signs off on the branches and everybody that they are in good standing, will then withdraw the standing of that structure up until they've undergone the foundational course. For instance, in the Northern Cape, they have been leading in terms of political education and OR Tambo School, but they've been lagging behind in the foundational course. We have instructed them to go back to run the foundational course because it's an important requirement. Throughout this weekend and going forward, and we have deployed as well in the Northern Cape, they've been doing this work of foundational course. So it's not a technical thing, it's a political requirement. We did get the report on the financial standing. We are not having a going concern or bankrupt. We do have financial challenges. It's not correct that people were not paid. They were paid, but not on the date of payment. We're running a huge bill as the ANC in terms of salary bill, and the challenge of being resourced fundraising is ongoing. And that's what we have said, that we are not a rich political party, and we declare to the IEC, religious, we do. So we must not be questioned like we are dubious, or we are a party that does not declare its fundraising and support. We declare religious is there in the, but ANC is big. I've seen other political parties' offices, it's like a constituency office, but it's a national party. You know, the ANC, if you come to the Tulia House, it's a big machine, which is reflective of what the ANC is, the largest political party in the country. We are unmatched when it comes to that. So, and you wouldn't find anything wrong on those parties who are still efficient, running according to what they have. But we are the biggest political party, and our salary bill is huge. And so that is one of the challenges we have to deal with from time to time. And if I can tell you how much is the ANC salary bill per month, you will fall apart. So, no, I've got no mandate to do that. I was not elected to announce financial status. TG, you can ask, she will tell you. And it is in her right to decide to tell you or not. She will make that determination. It would be wrong for me to pronounce on finances to that detail, as if we don't have Treasurer General. That's the person who oversees and elected to oversee our finances. And she reports, she's doing a proper job. Even in this meeting, she reported in detail, good report to the NEC. So we are updated about the state of finance and the challenge ever present of fundraising for the ANC. The Buffalo City, we will convene Buffalo City to the officials. The intervention team has gone there. They will give us a report. We have read newspaper reports with regard to the city, but we are dealing with it. We don't want to report yesterday. So in the next coming weeks, we will be engaging with Buffalo City. Mzwandile Mbeje, you ask how far are we? We are at the portfolio committee now. I'm sure it's on at 10. It will be reflective as to whether we are able to move all of us together going forward in terms of adopting the framework of the budget and then going into Parliament tomorrow. So that will be reflected. But I can tell you that there's been a back and forth between us and parties. We do have a draft framework on the table to engage all parties in the GNU. Having spoken to everybody, we think now there are bases for us to have an agreement with everyone. Not only with the DA, but everybody in the GNU and even beyond those who agree with us. The thorny issue in terms of the budget has been the question of VAT. And we have always argued as the ANC that right from the onset, when Treasury came up with 2%, we did not agree. We did not agree, but we ran out of options in terms of what we need to do, except to cushion us to have a 0% intervention, which is not permanent. As our economic situation increases, it not increases, our economic situation is perfected. This 0% is not permanent, will be withdrawn. And then And also, there's a whole lot of other things on the basket that have been addressed going forward. Even the spending, those issues, President put them long before us that they need to be addressed. The DA raises that particular issue. We say, but it has already been addressed. Some of the issues that have been addressed do not belong to the budget now. We need to engage on them, but people want agreement that there should be guarantees that these matters will be addressed, and so on. They raise issues of devolution and all of that. We are addressing the question of devolution in terms of government in the rail policy, and so on. There's been overzealousness to say that ANC have reached an agreement with the DA. We don't have an agreement. We've been engaging on their issues that they put across. But to suggest that there is an agreement between us and them, it's not correct. We've been engaging everybody in the GNU, including the DA. DA have had a catalog of issues, and they shift from time to time from one position to the other. And it's difficult when you are in negotiations and people leak to the media. And then there is Gulam and so on in the mix of negotiations. It now polarizes the negotiation. We need to pass the budget for the sake of South Africa, but at the same time, we need to be alive and talk to others. And that is what we are clear as the ANC. We're the largest party, we need to talk to others, and all of that. It's not really concessions. It's about what has the minister presented before us. And that we think that does not address most of the concerns that people have raised in their political parties. So that's why we've been open with everyone and to engage. And we hope that we will find a solution with everyone and will be able to pass the budget and follow up on the concerns that other political parties, including those who are not in the GNU, have actually raised, which I think by early hours of this morning and late last night, in our engagement, I believe that we are moving close to each other. So that closeness will then be consolidated into an agreement, because this is our first budget of the GNU that we need to pass. And then what that agreement will entail is going to be important for everyone to have an oversight of it and then agree on the way forward. If you engage with this process on the basis of political scoring, and then it may lead to situations where in which GNU itself and the ultimate, given the outcome, have to be reconfigured. The ANC is committed to the GNU with all its partners, but the majority of partners is very important in relation to this GNU. The ANC have got no intention where we've got Indonesia and Islam. The ANC is not wielding an axe that we want to cut people in the GNU. They will cut themselves out and will proceed. And that's what is important. But at the end of the day, we are committed to the country, and we are very much confident that we will cross and with a major breakthrough sometime this week going forward. That's where we actually stand. But if people come with political agendas that they want to be seen to be doing things in a different manner, it will affect the GNU in the long term, and that's what we need to understand. But as the ANC, we have shown commitment. We are working with everybody, and to find a solution to the matters of the budget. I am not privy at the present moment to talk about the inner details of the negotiations, what other parties have raised with us and so on. it will be disingenuous on our part and negotiating in bad faith. You talk to people and then thereafter you call the press conference and announce who said what and all of that. So we are moving closer to one another and with a full understanding that we need to listen to one another going forward for the sake of the country. We engage in this journey, as I conclude, not for ourselves, but for national interest and putting people first. And that's what is important, that everyone needs to then understand. The Constitution and the laws of the country have been strengthened. Now, if you get arrested and you are accused of rape, you are not entitled to bail. I think that's what is important. Whether we can do something even more beyond that, I think it is possible to do that. Where will women and our kids be safe? When they go to the crèche, your child can be raped. When they go to school, they are exposed and all of that. So these animals, the law must guide. So we fully agree with that. And it's important that we need to deal with them harshly in terms of the law. You see, when a person is sick, rape a 7-year-old, it's not a question of consciousness that you need to convert this person. It's an animal. There's nothing you can do about that. It's not a person who can rape a 7-year-old. That's not a human being. And that's why we say AfriForum goes and defend such animals, raping 7-year-old. I mean, that is even beyond animals. I don't know, it's cannibalism. So such people, the law must be harsh on them. DA will oppose the budget. Yes, we've had them. They've said that. But we've been engaging and talking to them, even with that opposition. So we've been talking to them and talking to everybody. If they don't participate, will that have implications in restructuring, GMU? Obviously, everything has got implications going forward. It does. Even those you think can be close to us have got their own conditions about what they want and should actually happen going forward. So we are here as the largest political party with the minister who have delivered the budget, and then there are issues in relation to that budget that we are debating with a host of political parties who are in the government of national unity. Lastly, the DA says the ANC is anti-poor. That's a joke. I mean, it's a fabrication that they have just concocted. They know why they are opposed to 0.5%. And they cannot be the ones who advocate for cushioning the poor and all of that. That's not the case. This is just political statement. They must come back to reality and engage with the ANC and everybody on real issues that we're confronted with. The refugee centers, that is just a madness that you can build refugee centers in a country as peaceful as South Africa and claim that people are subjected to genocide. The real genocide is happening there in the Middle East. And then that is what needs to be curtailed and even work with everybody to find a solution. So this thing that there is genocide in South Africa is a total unfounded fabrication. Yes, there was a report on the Integrity Commission. Once we report to the Integrity Commission, post to the NEC, we will make the NEC position on this matter public. That's what we'll do. And you're correct. It was a case of Limpopo. It has been processed. The NEC have taken a decision. I will write to the Integrity Commission to inform them about the NEC decision on the matter. There were 3 recommendations, not on individuals per se, but on how the ANC can improve matters that may impact on its integrity as a party in relation to the individuals concerned. VBS is closed. I came to you, we went to an NEC meeting. We discussed VBS. I convened a press conference. I briefed you that NEC have resolved. Everyone who has been affected by VBS, if they are still in government, municipal managers and everybody must step aside if they are arrested. Okay? And that has happened. A lot of people are in court. Others have been arrested. There's even a white man who was the architect of VBS. I'm sure he's out now on parole. He went in and then quickly became a state witness and all of that. But all those kingpins have been arrested. The fundamental issue now about VBS that must be resolved with the Reserve Bank and everybody. What happens to the Magogos who invested in that scheme, not scheme, in VBS, and their monies were embezzled? But over and above, the future of VBS itself, that must be addressed for the people of Benbe and so on. But as the ANC, the matter of VBS is closed. Florence was not arrested. He was put on step aside for the longest of time. The NEC resolved and did not communicate that time with the Integrity Commission about its resolution. That Florence and Denim Caesar at some point must come back. Florence came back and then was never arrested. It is correct that there are other people who were implicated, but they too were not arrested. Denim Caesar was arrested and he was put on step aside. He's still on step aside and he's on trial on VBS. All people who are implicated, who have put their hands on VBS in all municipalities and across the country, we have put them on step aside as the ANC. As it is, the wheels of justice are grinding with regard to them. Others are already serving time inside. So that must be understood. We went to the NEC, we gave a report, blow by blow, province by province. Who is affected and all of that, and the NEC took a decision that these people who are implicated must be prosecuted. Right? Now we can't deal with people with prejudice. If the state does not have a case against individuals and they don't arrest them, we can't arrest them. And they've got their own case in which they have given evidence even to the Integrity Commission about what actually happened. But those, an NPA must be supported in this regard, because a lot of people are facing cases with this VBS matter. And that's where it is. And we are not harboring suspects and all of that. Should anyone be arrested, he will face the law. And that's what is about. Newsroom, I've answered the question. DA have raised a whole lot of issues, and sometimes they are confusing who's raising the issues. I can't deal with faceless sources. A document is leaked. We can only deal, we don't deal with Nzegezele. We can only deal with what is submitted to us in terms of the discussions. And that is submitted to us. In terms of the DA, you all know what it is. Resolution, spending, and all of those things, Operation Vulindlela, all of those matters are not things that can make us not to pass the budget. As the ANC from where we stand. Those are not the issues that can make us not to pass. 0.5%, we move from 2% to 0.5%, but over and above that, this is not a permanent feature of our budget. Okay? We agree that we're not going to borrow. There are issues in terms of spending that they are raising. These are matters that we believe that should be discussed going forward between us and everyone going forward. What are ANC compromises? We agree with the budget, and there are issues with regard to VAT. That has become the major issue. And we have put across solutions in relation to what must happen around that. And we are dealing with that matter with everyone else in terms of this particular issue in the process of discussions and negotiations. There are parties who said to us it's a no-no. We will not support anything with VAT and so on. Now, you can't discuss with people who just come with one issue. And then the rest, you ask, where do you stand? There is no comprehensive position on their part, but we're talking to everyone. And we're confident that at the end of the day, the budget will pass. Thank you.
Looks like somebody was listening to the Secretary General. I'm going to ask for short, sharp, and succinct questions. SABC, ENCA. I'm just trying to find colleagues that have not had a chance. Eyewitness News, in that particular order.
Samkele myself from the SABC. Mr. Mbalula, in some of the leaked issues of the negotiations of the budget, the Democratic Alliance demanded the foregoing of rail management within the country in order for the Western Cape government to have their own rail agency to run the network within that particular province. They go forth to the issue of the ports. There was to forego the powers of the ports for the Western Cape to run its own port, basically looking at the cessation of the Western Cape government as a whole into some of the proposals of that particular foreign national perpetuating the cessation of the Western Cape Craig Film or something like that. What is the ANC stance on this particular matter? Secondly, there was another debate on the economic trajectory of the country. The DA wanted a slice of the pie on the economic policies of the country and the international relations policies of the country. Were you willing to negotiate on these particular matters, or you say you can't forego the economic policy and international relations policy, particularly with the hostility that is there with the United States of America at this point, the ICJ case, and knowing how the Democratic Alliance is allegedly close with the Israeli government, and the Ukrainians, knowing how Steenhuisen went to Ukraine. What were the non-negotiables of the ANC within these particular discussions? John Steenhuisen is meeting with President Ramaphosa as we speak at this point in time. What is the content of that meeting of Cyril Ramaphosa as President of the country and John Steenhuisen as leader of the Democratic Alliance? Are you looking at cutting ties with the DA, particularly noting that they are refusing to pass a budget that they are currently in the government of? Will you be working with people that are refusing to pass a budget with you? What is the logic in co-governing with people who don't want to pass a budget with you? Then lastly, on the issues pertaining to a Kalipa within the Free State, is he still the mayor? Is he on step aside? Thank you.
very much. ENCA.
All right, thanks. Moloko again. Just a quick one. Has the Democratic Alliance agreed to the 0.5% VAT increase in your negotiations with them? Secondly, on the reconfiguration of the alliance, was it discussed? And have you also had an opportunity to discuss the possibility of the South African Communist Party contesting next year's local government elections alone? And what's the position there? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me come this side. I'm going to ask that we keep it short.
No, it's fine.
Travis Ogoba from Eyewitness News. Just a quick one for myself. In terms of Action SA, I understand that ANC has been also engaging with Action SA. And Action SA in a position to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to close it at that. You can always get a follow-up with us, but we'll close it at that and after SG to respond.
Let me just explain that the process of negotiations is very fluid and it's not starting. So there's a lot of engagements at different levels that are happening and taking place with the aim of finding a solution. And it's been a long process up until this one. There are many things, some girl, like I've said, the DA raises. We do have a position, for instance, on dissolution. It's been their campaign for the longest of time. Now, if you look at the rate policy, it does address the question of dissolution. And what we are advocating for as the ANC is concessions, not only for the Western Cape, but across the country in relation to rate. But when it comes to logistics and freight, there's already a process in government that invites private sector participation in order to unblock the logistics and freight sector in terms of the challenges we're facing there. And the minister is quite advanced with regard to that. So the question of Cape Town and also dealing with. So some of these things are not new. It's more or less like saying there is a budget and you bring all these issues, then you must say, no, we claim victory over this. But these issues are already in the system. When you talk about the question of spending, for instance, review, President is already dealing with that question. And what the DA wants, for instance, in terms of operation within their life, is to take it and give it to a person who's not a minister to basically run with that. Yes, everybody must participate, but presidency leads with that. And it's a question of delegation, that you're taking what belongs to the minister and all of that. But we engage on this particular matters. We are all for economic growth. Amidst a lot of differences that we may have when it comes to the question of economic policy. So these are issues that we believe are ongoing and are not matters that can make us not to pass the budget. Because you are moving the goalposts from tax to other issues and so on. So we believe that there is a lot that can make us to move all of us together to cross. And I think the meeting with, you've got special ears of a special kind and eyes. You know that the president, as we are here, is meeting with John. You are very